Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page. Folks, tonight's movie is a film by one of my favorite directors by the name of Mr. Ken Russell. Ken Russell did some infamous films such as Lair of the White Worm, The Devils. These are films that were very controversial in nature, and films that are also respected by the art house community, but also exploitation film fans, foreign film fans, and any fans of shocking cinema in some form or fashion. The movie I'm going to showcase tonight, though, however, is a film that I believe is not talked about enough, and thus we are going to present it on the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page. It is 1986's Gothic. This is the DVD release, and this was put out by Artisan Films right here. Artisan DVD, and I mean, this is a really bare bones release. There's nothing on here, and it's full screen, and as far as I know, there are no plans for releases by any companies onto Blu-ray or some kind of special edition. Although Fangoria, some time ago, long time ago, a couple years ago, had a feature on this film. I believe maybe a 2-issue feature or just a 1-issue feature. And the tagline on the front of this film is "Conjure up your deepest, darkest fear. Now call that fear to life." And that's a pretty unique tagline for a film. I mean, not your typical run-of-the-mill, now call that fear to life. There's the cover. You might remember this cover because I sure as heck did in West Coast Video when I was a kid, seeing the VHS cover of this, and for some odd reason I never rented it because I was going through other films at that point. But this is pretty much the same VHS cover for the film. This film stars some pretty big people here. I mean, we have Julian Sands, we have Natasha Richardson. There are a lot of people here. Gabriel Bryan. I mean, there's some actors here that went on to do some big things. This is from 1986. If you know anything about Mr. Ken Russell, you know that he was a fiercely wild director in style. He was a director that kind of bridled and really let chaos erupt in his films. A different kind of chaos. A chaos within the actors themselves, and the actors themselves then pushing that chaos and being the catalyst for that chaos throughout the duration of the film. This is Gothic. Gothic has this unbridled chaos, but this beautifully orchestrated chaos from the actors. This is a film, folks, where you have no idea what is going to happen from frame to frame with the catalyst of the actors. This is a film that is fiercely and wildly rebellious against genre boundaries. Could you call this film a horror film? Could you call this film an art house film or a shocking dark drama? Could you call it a shocking horrific period piece? Could you call it an erotic psychosexual art house horror film? You could call it all of these things. Could you call it an avant-garde experimental period piece? Yes, you could call it that too. This is a wild, wild film. And this is a film I actually go to every Halloween season because for some reason it really brings me a very... Oh, gosh, I don't even know how to explain it. That's all I'll say. I mean, it just gives me something like in that regards. And it's a film that really goes back to the story of the night that Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. It really kind of goes there, and it's a period piece. Now, I don't like period pieces typically at all, and so if you don't like period pieces, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can still love this film if you love wild movies, because it really doesn't feel 100% like a period piece, even though it is. Now, there are heavy British accents in this film. Ken Russell was in fact British, I believe, and the film is wild. Okay, let's start off with the music. The music was done by Thomas Dolby. Thomas Dolby, the 80s hit She Blinded Me with Science. Yes, Thomas Dolby did this soundtrack, and you can get the soundtrack on vinyl for pretty reasonable prices. You can also get it, buy it digitally on iTunes, and I believe it's also available. Somebody put it up on YouTube. I don't believe there was ever an official CD release. I could be wrong on that. You can check Amazon. But the vinyl record is out there with beautiful artwork on the cover. Um, Thomas Dolby did something very, very special to the music of this film that would be very similar to the way Goblin did music for Dario Argento's films. I mean, the music of this film drives this film and is part it's just right side by side with the actor's chaos. The music of this film kind of takes that taxi with the actor's chaos and throws this film forward. The music is synthesized, it's orchestrated, it's filled with howls, and it's filled with operatic yells and weird places. It has beats and rhythms that come in out of nowhere and then come back again, and they're gone. It's all throughout the film, and these operatic synthesized sounds and wildness really fuels the thunder and the lightning at this beautiful mansion where a group of people are coming together and they're telling stories and there are hallucinations and drugs and seances and weird conjurings and mediums. And if you know Ken Russell, he always had very almost seemingly blasphemous Catholic imagery, and it is within this film. There's violence in this film. There is some of the most bizarre, experimental, hallucinogenic, surreal imagery you've seen, even in this very bare bones DVD release. There's this very surreal menu screen if you look very carefully, and it kind of changes. There are very bizarre and very well done effects in this film. There are weird things happening in every turn. There's mystery in this film. You don't know if it's drugs, if it's supernatural, or if it's in the real, in the natural. There are wild things. There's themes of incest. There's themes of pedophilia. There's themes of rebellion in this film. This is a wild movie in almost the dark mansion, haunted house, thunder and lightning, and what is happening within the house, the nude rebellion and rampages and wildness of the rich storytellers that are going into just total abandonment of all social norms and all morals and boundaries, and just taking a night into the insane and a night into the wild. I mean, this is a very dangerous movie, like all of Ken Russell's films, but this one is almost cloaked in a haunted house, horrific type of tale, and the tale of Mary Shelley's Night. You know, when she wrote Frankenstein, and you know, so it's kind of based on historical characters and on Mary Shelley's life and things like that. But then, of course, there is artistic, you know, freedom in here as well, where you know, things are conjured and things. But Mary Shelley's story in and of itself and the inspiration for Frankenstein is disturbing enough. And this film is very disturbing. There is very disturbing imagery in this film. I don't want to give away things, but there is very disturbing imagery in this film that you just don't see in, you know, Hollywood films. This film goes there. There is, you know, rampant nudity in this film, but also disturbing nudity in this film, surreal nudity in this film, almost somewhat to Brian Usna's the movie Society from the 80s. You know, there's that type of nudity also, and things are mysterious, and things are wild, and things are gothic. You know, this is a wild film. I mean, for the people who, you know, who kind of, you know, like wild movies, this will still be surprising to them. And this movie's rated R, which is just, you know, quite shocking to me in some regards. This is a type of film that is just not made today. Also, this was the type of film that was not made in the 80s. I mean, 1986. I mean, I spoke to some people. Here's the back cover. I spoke to some people and who saw it in the theatrical release, and they said it was a limited theatrical release, and that people just didn't really know how to take this film, and it didn't necessarily do that well. Folks, this you can see the cover there, based on the famous Nightmare painting. Almost a sleep paralysis, the demon there. This is Ken Russell's Gothic. Get the soundtrack by Thomas Dolby and buy this film. It's cheap, I believe, still in print on Amazon. No plans for distribution. That's why I'm talking about it. This film's not being talked about enough. If you like horror, if you like the bizarre, if you like the surreal, if you like the disturbing and the shocking and the genre-breaking, boundary-breaking films, okay, something that you haven't seen before. The acting is amazing in this film, and it is chaotic, as well as the music and the direction from Ken Russell is insane. It's as if the camera is flying through the hallways of this mansion on this stormy night, and the actors are flying, and they're running through the halls, and they're conjuring up insanities. I mean, this is the type of film it is, and all of a sudden the camera is in one section of the mansion, and you start to hear howls and operatic yells, and a character runs and slams and shuts the door, and all of a sudden a crucifix falls and a skull is resurrected. I mean, this is the kind of film this is. This is a wild, wild film. This is 1986's Ken Russell's Gothic. Definitely, if you like what you heard, check this out. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarre YouTube page, where I'm showcasing films that I believe are not being talked about enough. Many more reviews to come. Check out all the reviews in this page. There is definitely a focus on this page with Jess Franco's films, but there will be tons of films, all in different exploitation, horror, adult genres. Thank you so much, folks, for watching. Feel free to check out my own personal films at youtube.com/poopydiarrhea. Thank you, and good night.